Hi, everyone. So I wanted to take a second to go over the new proposed grading scale with you guys and maybe give you some information that might lead you to make a decision about how you want to be evaluated this semester. So know that it is entirely your decision, but hopefully I can make some recommendations for you that might help you to optimize your situation. Okay, so hopefully you guys are aware that FMU is offering you the option to switch from the traditional A, B, C, D, F, W grading scale to a satisfactory or unsatisfactory grading scale. So the basics of the SU system are that, first of all, S's and U's are not included in grade point calculations for the semester. So if you opt to go that route, this course or whatever course you choose, you would do this on a course by course basis. That course would not get factored into your GPA. Okay. An S would correspond to a grade equivalent of either an A, B, or C. A U would correspond to a grade equivalent of a D or an F. All right. Now, if you opt for an S, that essentially signifies that you successfully completed that course. That's really all it says. So it's not giving you a GPA, or it's not going into your GPA, but it does give you course credit. It does count toward graduation, and it does count toward your major because you successfully completed the course. By contrast, a U signifies that you completed the course you stayed in, but that you perhaps you didn't do well, and so it won't be calculated into your GPA. Now, the interesting thing about a U is because it signifies course completion, it would help you towards, say, hours for financial aid. So, for example, if you're on a life scholarship and you need 30 hours and you get a U, then this course would count toward that 30 hours for financial aid. All right. Otherwise, it does not count toward graduation and it does not count toward your major. So what I thought I would do is go through some very specific categories in this lovely infographic developed by Dr. Lyles in our department that we all found really, really helpful. I thought I'd walk you through it and hopefully answer some of your questions and maybe some of your friends' questions about what might be the best way to go. So the first thing to understand about the SU grading system is that regardless of what scheme you choose, a traditional ABC type grading scale or the SU system, all of that would be reflected on your transcripts. So if you need a transcript for postgraduate work, say in grad school or professional school, or even for employment purposes, all of this does go on your transcript. Okay. Now, another thing that's come up is regardless of whether you choose an A, B, C, D, or F, or an SU, you are still required to complete the course. The only thing that does not require course completion is a withdrawal. Now, what do I mean by course completion? For me, that means that you're engaging with the online content, that I've heard from you in some way, you've turned in an assignment, you've logged onto YouTube to look at videos, that kind of thing. For example, I have a lab course on Blackboard. I can follow students whether or not they're on Blackboard and how long they're on Blackboard. Students that no longer are engaging with the course content are not considered to be completing the course. And so all of the rules about course attendance that were in place prior to the move online, my understanding is that those still apply, okay? So if you are in a place where you just do not want to complete the coursework, then the best thing for you to do is to withdraw. Now, I recognize that for some students, that's simply not an option. You're obligated to complete a certain number of course hours in order to receive your financial aid, okay? So that's where we move on to this category. Counts toward total hours for financial aid. For example, 30 hours per year are required for a life scholarship. Well, as you can see, A's through C's, S's, D's, and F's would all count toward your requisite hours for financial aid. So that is one benefit of a U over, say, an F, okay? An F usually does not count toward your financial aid requirement. Satisfies a course requirement for your major, minor, or collateral. Well, certainly an A, B, or C definitely satisfies your course requirements. And because an S is equivalent to these three grades, it also would satisfy course requirements. A D may or may not, it just depends on the course that you're in. So for example, genetics is a required course for you to graduate. However, you can make a D in this course and still meet the graduation requirement. So in that case, you may not want to go with the U. A U does not satisfy course requirements, all right? Of course, neither does an F and neither does a W. All right, let's look at this next category. Counts toward total hours for your degree. For example, you need a minimum of 120 credit hours to graduate. Again, the A through C, of course, is going to meet that requirement, as is the S, as is the D. U's, F's, and W's do not satisfy that requirement. Included in the GPA calculation. Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of the features of the SU grading system is that S's and U's do not factor into your GPA. F's, D's, and C's do. All right? This one is really more for classes similar to, say, your early biology classes or your chem classes. So in those classes that are prerequisites that you have to have before you can advance to other classes, in other words, classes where a C or better were necessary before you moved on, then the only two grades that would meet that would be, of course, A's, B's, and C's, or the S, all right? Now, down here is where things start to get a little sticky. These categories have to do with movement outside of FMU or admission into, say, postgraduate programs, all right? So what we don't know right now, we do know that A's through C's are accepted as transfer credit, and they are accepted if you are applying to grad schools, etc. D's, U's, and F's are not accepted as transfer credits, and those reflect very poorly on applications to things like graduate school, medical school, dental school, etc. What we don't know is what other programs will do with this S grade, okay? The nursing department here is accepting the S grade and just considering that as a successful completion of the coursework. But that's just one department. We don't know what other departments are going to do outside of FMU. It's unclear how that would impact an application to PA school or medical school. So that's definitely something to think about if you have aspirations of attending school after you graduate. So that kind of brings me to the next thought process, and that is, who should really consider moving to the SU grade category? Well, first of all, if you think that you may be in danger of failing the course, I think you may be better off opting for a U, simply because the U does not count toward your GPA. Neither of them will award you course credit, but the U does carry the added benefit of not reducing your GPA for the semester, okay? Additionally, it will help you toward your financial aid hour requirement. So if you think that you're in danger of failing, I recommend that you move to a U. If you are making a D, that is a more difficult decision to make, okay? A D in this class does count toward graduation. It does count toward your major, okay? So if you opt to take the U, then you're gonna lose out on some credit hours. On the other hand, if you opt for the U, then you don't have your GPA impacted by a D grade. So if you're making a D in the course or you think that you're in danger of making a D, whether you opt into this U kind of category is really a very personal decision based on how your other grades look and what you want to do. All right. Now let's talk about folks that might fall into this S category. Who might the S benefit? Well, again, this becomes a very personal decision. To my way of thinking, if you're making an A or a B in the course and you think you can maintain that A or B, those are really good grades. Those grades positively impact your GPA, and I don't really see a benefit to you moving to the S. Now, if you are making a C and you're typically an AB student, you might decide an S is the best way to go in order to protect your GPA. If you are currently making an A or a B, but you find yourself overwhelmed by the online platform and you're afraid that your grade is going to slip, you also may want to consider the S in order to protect your GPA. Again, there's not really a one-size-fits-all decision here. It's going to be very personal and case by case. So what do you need to do in order to decide about your grades? Well, the default is going to be a normal grading scheme. If you don't say anything to me at all about your grades, then I will automatically grade you according to the A, B, C, D, F, W scheme, okay? If you would like to be part of the SW grading scheme, then your job, according to the university, is to let me know by April 20th. Now, I am making an exception. You have an exam with me on Friday, April 17th. I'm going to grade that exam over the weekend and return those grades to you and your current average all on Blackboard on Monday, April 20th. Then I'm going to give you 24 hours to kind of think about things. And I will give you until Tuesday, April 21st to make a decision about the SU grading system. After that, you're stuck with a traditional grading system. Now, one caveat to that is that we have decided at FMU that you may withdraw from the course. You can get a W with no academic penalty up to the last day of school, which would be April 27th. So if at any point you just decide, take this class off of my transcript, just pretend it didn't happen, you can get a W, not a WF, not an F. You can get a W up to the very last day of class. Okay, I hope that helps you to understand the SU grading system a little more clearly. And if you have any questions or would like to talk about what might be best for you, I'm happy to chat. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.